Hello, Omnibuds. We are ready to do this. We are going to go for the 85-year history of The Flash. This will be the first of about 10 or so episodes where we will go for the entire reading order of this character, and we will explore all the different eras, all the different people who have donned the costume of The Flash, and we will go through everything. This is the time, Omnibuds. Let's do this. Sorry I'm late, everyone. You know me, I tend to be a little late just like Barry Allen over here. But yeah, here we go. We will be starting episode 1 of this reading order of The Flash. We'll be going through some of the Golden Age, all of the Silver Age, and we got a little bonus book that we're going to throw in here too. So, let's go take a look. Alright, so the first book that we have here is we have the old archives editions of the Golden Age Flash, Archives Volume 1. So basically, I'm not really collecting a lot of Golden Age. Like, if they ever release it in Omnis, I will get them. But I'm not really, like, super keen on, like, trying to find them. Like, Golden Age stuff is hard for me to read. But anyway, this is the reorder, so this is where it all starts. We all start here in 1940 with Jay Garrick. Let's take a look. Got your table of contents here, as well as a foreword by Mark Waid. You'll hear about him later. And here we are, Flash Comics number 1. Interesting fact, because of course it is called Flash Comics number 1. That means we didn't actually have a number 1 of The Flash until about 1985 or so. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get there. So anyway, this is Flash number 1. Got the opening. We got Joan here. And here is the exact spirit. Yes, this is how Jay's origin goes down. He is smoking. More common back in that time. He's smoking, and he accidentally knocks off some chemicals, and he inhales this chemical water. And that's how he gets his abilities. Yep, that's how we did it. That's how we did it back in the Golden Age. Let's go for some of this stuff here. Again, this is his first issue. He's showing off because now he's got this amazing ability. He can run fast. Yeah, another thing that's kind of interesting. Very first issue, he just flat out opens himself up. He even tells Joan who he is. He's like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm the Flash. I'm awesome. I'm great. I'm Jay Garrick. All good stuff. Like I said, I haven't read a lot of this. I mean, I've read most of this stuff, but it's been like a good while. That's a pretty cool cover. I like that cover. I like that cover too. We have featuring Hawkman as well. Yeah, Hawkman was around a lot for these books as well. Shared a series with the Flash, as they did back then. Some cowboys and stuff, all pretty good stuff. But yeah, that is the Golden Age with Jay Garrick. Again, not too much, but again, like I said, I haven't read all the stuff, so I can't put too much in there. So now we're gonna move on to the Silver Age. And here we are with the Flash Silver Age Omnibus Volume 1. Just going to show off the cover here before we take off the dust jacket, and I'll show you the pages inside. However, this does actually collect showcase number 4, 8, 13, and 14. Showcase number 4, of course, being Barry's debut. And also, this collects the Flash 104 from 132. Interesting enough, it collects 104, which is actually a Golden Age issue, and this is actually the last Jay Garrick Golden Age issue before we transition to the Silver Age. So I thought it was pretty cool that they included that in there. Alright, and here we are. We shall take the dust cover off, and we'll take a look inside this bad boy. Alright, and here we go with the Flash Omnibus Volume 1. I really do like this nice black cover, give a classic old school look to the books. Here we go. So like I said, of course, this also does include the last Golden Age issue right here, Flash 104. Before we transition into Showcase number 4, which is the debut of Barry Allen, aka my all-time favorite comic book character. And he is here in Showcase number 4 with Mystery of the Human Thunderbolts. And as we get to see here, Barry is actually reading old school Flash comics. How's he doing that? We'll find that out in a second. But also, like, so here we go. We have his origin right here, which is, of course, the lightning striking him as a bunch of chemicals hit him. Way better origin than Jay. Way more iconic. Way cooler. Still a bit out there, of course, but hey, it's comics. It was the late 50s. What do you want? Is him discovering that he can now run fast. And this image is actually pretty cool because this was actually later on recreated in the Flash TV show, where he gets to see not just that he's Flash, that he's fast, but that also that he can perceive time differently. He can perceive time more fast than we can. So objects that are going fast for us seem very slow to him, and he's able to actually he's actually able to pick up all the plates and the food and get them all back in assembly, as opposed to everything just crashing down. And of course, also here's the debut of his ring as well, which I have. That's pretty cool. One of the things that's actually funny, though, about this is that you will constantly see you will constantly see this panel, or specifically like different panels where constantly will just say almost in every issue, like this is how Barry compresses the ring out of it, the costume out of his ring. You're gonna see that a lot in a lot of these stories. And he's also fighting his first villain, the Turtle, here. Very first villain. Actually, one of the cool things that I do like about this collection is that you really get a lot of, like, not just Barry's debut, but of course all the debuts of a lot of the classic Flash rogues. One of them should actually be coming up right here in Showcase number 8. The coldest man on Earth, aka Captain Cold, Leonard Stark, who would go on to become one of the Flash's most iconic villains. This is his debut right here. Still got some Showcase stuff. Like I said, we get like a lot of the villains debut here. The great art by Carmine Infantino. Also, this is interesting too. We get Al Desmond, who will later on become Dr. Alchemy, but before that, he actually becomes Mr. Element. And then once Mr. Element fails, once the Flash defeats Mr. Element, he says, "Screw that! I'm going to be Dr. Alchemy." And that whole dual personality will come back a lot and be referenced a lot later on. And there he is, Dr. Alchemy, of course. And yeah, as you can see right here, it says, There's no more Mr. Element. I have adopted a new identity, one that will enable me to deal with my enemy, the Flash. From now on, I am Dr. Alchemy." Got a lot of sci-fi stories in here as well. Big sci-fi stuff, especially if you really do like the Flash. Sci-fi plays a big part in this. Oh, actually, I just want to go back a couple pages here just to show at least the cover. This is the cover of Flash 105, which is not only the debut of Mirror Master, but this is actually where the Flash transitions from being in showcase stories to now having his own series again. Why they resumed the Golden Age numbers, I never was really sure about that, but yeah, they just continued from 105 on. Yeah, we got Rod. Like I said, we have a lot of debut supervillains here. Iris, of course, as well. Big part of the stories as well. One of the things that I actually always have loved about Iris is I like the fact that like she's not like the typical love interest where you think like, oh, like Lois back in the day where it's like oh well, I'm into Superman but I care less about Clark. Like no, she's always loved Barry. Like she always thought the Flash is cool, but like Barry's my main guy. So I've always liked that. I like that she always went against that trope. And we also have another big debut in this as well. Just trying to find it. I don't know if I passed it. A lot of Grodd stories. That's actually a lot. I think you'll notice a lot in this run. There's a lot of Grodd stories. I feel like once they created him, Robert Kager, John Broome was all like, this Grodd guy is great, and we're just going to use him for a while. Trying not to go too fast. Now, this issue is significant as well, the Flash 1010, because not only is this the debut of Wonder Wizard, which is probably one of the Flash's coolest villains, this is also the debut of a character that we'll be talking about later on in this reading order. A very big, important character, that being Wally West. There's Wonder Wizard's debut. Just gonna go through that a little quickly. And here we are. The Flash meet Kid Flash. And there he is. Young Wally West. Who is the nephew of Iris West. Who eventually meets Barry. And Barry will, of course, become his uncle from that. And also, as we will see here, he is a big fan of the Flash. He's specifically a big fan of not a big fan of Barry, but Barry at least not yet. Like he does think Barry's cool back in this day, but but yeah, he is obviously a big fan of the Flash. He is the number one member of the Flash fan club, and it's only member. And here's his debut here. Very same exact origin as Barry. Lightning bolt hits a bunch of chemicals, hits him, bam. He's got super speed. But where does their super speed come from? Question we'll find out later on. But yeah, this is Kid Flash's debut. And one of the cool things about Kid Flash and about Wally is that, like, as you now go through some of these stories, you will get a Flash story as well as a Kid Flash story. So it's really cool that, like, knowing what Wally's going to become, that even so early on in his history, that he was doing a lot of his own solo stuff without Barry. Oh, also, this is another big issue, too. This is the debut of Elongated Man. Elongated Man actually debuted in The Flash and became one of Barry's closest friends, Ralph Dibny. But I just want to talk about one more issue here before we move on to Volume 2. I think most of you will probably know already what that is. No, not Captain Boomerang. Let's see if I can find. Oh yes, Willie, Blinky, and Nudie. That's another one that we had here in the Silver Age. Some of the weird, more kooky stuff of this era. We basically had a Three Stooges parody in The Flash. Very interesting. Land of the Golden Giants, that's a classic story as well. So many good and fun stories. I think this should be it coming up. Here we go. Flash 123, The Flash of Two Worlds. Very classic story, very important story. Because we get the debut of the idea of the multiverse, where we actually find out that Jay Garrick, all of his adventures were actually taking place on another Earth, different from the Flash, from Barry, different from Central City. Keystone City was on Earth 2, where all the stories of the Flash so far have been on Earth 1. Barry ends up accidentally discovering this when he decides to one day show off for a bunch of kids for like a talent show. He's more or less basically stolen for time. I remember specifically, yeah, he's like stolen for time because the actual performer who they came to see is like late or something, so the Flash is just showing off some tricks just to be like, hey kids, like keep you entertained. But anyway, one of the things that he decides to do is he decides to go on a rope, and it's going to twirl it so fast to make it seem like he's invisible. But then, of course, he goes so fast, he ends up disappearing. And he ends up going to Earth 2, to Keystone City, where he does meet Jay Garrick. And him and Jay end up teaming up because they gotta take down 3 classic Golden Age villains, which is, of course, the Faker, the Fiddler, and the Shade. Classic Flash villains, specifically classic Golden Age Jay Garrick villains. And the Flashes, of course, do work together and end up taking them down. And yeah, that pretty much covers most of Volume 1. Let's go on to Volume 2. Alright, and this is Volume 2 of the Silver Age. This will collect the Flash 133 through 163. Let's crack this baby open. Alright, here we go again with that classic black feel, black look. So one of the interesting things that happens in this edition is we get the debut of a certain big time villain for the Flash, as well as a change to Kid Flash's look. A lot more classic stuff here as well, including this classic story. Flash becoming a puppet, and the debut of Abracadabra, who would become a big-time villain in a certain run that we will talk about later on. But yep, this is the debut of Abracadabra. Just going through these pages for you guys. The man who mastered Absolute Zero, aka Captain Cold. Like I said, I really do love a lot of this, like, old school Silver Age stuff. It really is, like, a lot of fun. I mean, not like every story is like a winner, but there's, like, some good ones out there. Okay, here we go. This is it. This is the debut of the now iconic Kid Flash costume, because, of course, for a long time, Wally was basically just mini Barry, like, it was, like, mini Flash. It was just the Flash costume, except on like a kid, so it looked weird. So I guess they finally did decide to change it, and it became a really iconic costume to the point where Mark Waid actually considers it to be one of the top 3 best costumes of all time, which he also includes Green Lantern and Spider-Man in that conversation. So you get that. Get some more Mirror Master stuff. Can't ever go wrong with Mirror Master. Love Mirror Master stories. Also, he does team up a lot with Jay again. He will team up with Jay on a regular basis around this time, like because Flash in Two Worlds did so well. Like it seems like he usually teamed up with Flash with Jay Garrick at least like once or twice a year. It was a cool way to keep Jay in the book without like completely just like writing him off completely. Not like they would ever do that to another Flash. Oh, no. We'll get there. Ah, yes. Here we are. The Flash. 130. Trying to read it. 139. I should know that by now, but yeah. The Flash 139, aka the debut of the Reverse Flash, who, in my opinion, is the greatest supervillain in all of comics. I'm just going to say that right then and there. I know I'm biased. I'm a Flash guy, but to me, Edomar Vaughn is so fucking good. And he is one of my all-time favorite characters. But yeah, this is the debut here. As well as, well, it's not the debut of this, but also we do get the Cosmic Treadmill brought in the Silver Age stories as well, which is actually how Flash was actually able to travel through time, because he originally couldn't do it with speed on his own. At least not yet, anyway. Flash needed to know where he was going, because otherwise he would just, if he just would go so fast, he would never know where he's going, and he may possibly just end up in some random time, or like in Flash in Two Worlds, end up on a random world. So the Cosmic Treadmill helps him out and navigates him for where he needs to go, which in this case is going to the 25th century. The home of Edomar Vaughn. And this issue is actually pretty cool, because this is actually one of the early incarnations that we would get of the Rogues. First, we've got Heatwave and Captain Cold teaming up. The Top, he's another big villain as well. Very underrated villain, in my opinion, especially what they would do with him later on. Oh, and the old absent-minded professor, Iris's dad. Or at least one of her dads. We'll get there. Some Trickster stuff here. They really love recreating his cover, I noticed, too. His first cover where he's just floating in the air with the hover boots. False Green Lantern. Flash and Green Lantern, of course, team up a lot. Barry and Hal would become really good friends. And eventually, you will see throughout Flash's history that will become a regular thing with all the Flashes and the different Green Lanterns. You'll never catch up to me, Flash, now that I switched legs with you. Yep, Silver Age is fun. Mr. Element comes back. Comes back to Reverse Flash, that's a fun story. Doorway to the unknown. Yeah, like I said again, I do love this stuff. This old school stuff. Another Jake Garrick team up. More Trickster stuff. Actually, one thing that was funny about the Trickster was that there's actually a story. I'm trying to remember. There is actually this story that involves, I believe it's Mirror Master or Wonder Wizard. I can't remember which one it is, but I remember specifically there was an article that came out in the Central City Citizen where they actually ranked who they thought was like the most threatening villain, and the villain who, like I said, I really wish I could remember right now. Like I said, I think it was either Mirror Master or it was Captain Boomerang. I can't remember which one. It was one of the two of them, and they were so offended that they were like on the bottom of the list, and that Trickster was number one. Yeah, Trickster was considered, at least according to Central City, the most threatening of his villains. And don't get me wrong, Trickster was a great villain. I just thought that was hilarious at the time. Got more Reverse Flash stuff here. And here we go. This is the big one. The Gauntlet of the Supervillains. The debut of the Rogues. Where the villains all finally decide, you know what? To quote Justice League Unlimited, to quote Captain Cold, taking turns is dumb. Let's just all ambush him. And that's exactly what they would do, and they would go on to do for a very long time. They would rarely work in solo, but most of the time they would just work together as one, the Rogues. Flash would eventually stop them, of course, but still, pretty big deal at the time to just have all the villains in like one book like this. I love this shot, by the way. This is great. All of them running together like that. All of them taking them out. But anyway, let's move on to volume 3. Alright, so this is the last volume in the Silver Age Flash Omnibus volume 3. This collects 165 through 199. And we are still waiting for a Bronze Age Omnibus. We'll figure out what to do when we get to that episode. Don't worry, I got an idea. But for now, let's wrap up the Silver Age, and then we'll do my bonus book, and we'll wrap this thing up. Here we go. All right, here we are. Wanted to start right here. 165. Very big issue. Barry and Iris's wedding. Will everything go smoothly? Of course not. This is the Flash. This is comics. One bridegroom too many. So this is a big deal. Like, we are finally seeing the wedding of Barry and Iris, who have been dating basically since Showcase number 4. I mean, they broke off a couple of times for like an issue, and then they would get back together by the end of it. You know, Iris would constantly have to be annoyed at her boyfriend, who's so slow. Yeah, we went there. But all right. Yeah, so this is the wedding issue. And, of course, who else is going to ruin Barry Allen's wedding but Ian Barthorne? And not just ruin. No. Fall wants the wedding to go on. But the difference is that he wants to be the one to marry Iris. That's actually another funny thing that I noticed that happens a lot around this era, is a lot of the villains want Iris. Captain Cold wanted her, Fawn wants her. Something that never gets brought up later in the Modern Age stuff, but yeah, I thought it was interesting that all the villains at one point just wanted Iris. But yeah, this is probably one of my all-time favorite stories. This might be my favorite story of the Silver Age. I love this issue. I love this issue so much. And there they are. They eventually do get married. Everything is resolved. And they head off to the honeymoon. And they get happily married, where Iris still has no idea her husband is the Flash. That eventually will be revealed later on. But yeah, that's how hesitant Barry is with his secret identity, that even through marriage, he still never told Iris. But that will be explained later on of why he never did. Or at least he might have did by accident. There's some more fun Silver Age stuff here. Oh, this story. This story is weird. This is the real origin of the Flash. Yeah. This story was kind of here and then forgotten about. Basically, more or less, this wizard named Mopey is apparently the one who was responsible for the the lightning bolt that gave Flash his powers. And now he, like, wants to take them away. It's weird. And I know for a fact, like, Mark Waid, like, despises the story. But yeah, eventually things do get resolved and Barry is able to keep his powers. But yeah, this is a very weird, like, I guess it's like considered to be one of the most earliest retcons, but it's like, why even do that? It's just weird. Anyway, we got some more stories to hear, more Green Lantern team ups. Like I said, they team up a lot together, Hal and Barry. All good buddies. Abracadabra. But yeah, as far as reorder goes, this is basically where you would want to start. You would want to start with all the Silver Age stuff. It's a lot of fun. Team up with Superman as well. Actually, yes, this is actually okay. I thought this was in Volume 2. This is in Volume 3. So this is actually the second race between Superman and the Flash. Yes, the two of them tend to have races together with each other. The first race happened in Superman's book, Superman 199, but this is the second race between them, which happened in Flash's book. And we all know who is faster, who eventually would be faster. I mean, come on. It's the Flash. Supes is great. I love Supes. He's my number 2 guy behind Flash, but yeah, no. When it comes to speed, it's about the Flash. Old Flash, big brain. Fact or fiction? You be the judge. Actually, this is a pretty fun story, too, because one of the cool things about it is, Flash actually gets to meet one of the creators from DC Comics, Mr. Schwartz, and he ends up Flash ends up in our world. He ends up in the real world, and it's up to Mr. Schwartz here to help him out and to reassemble the cosmic treadmill, so he can get back to where he is, get back to his world. Iris is captured by a samurai. The Samuroids. That was a big thing that happened in season 4 of the show. All such fun stuff. But yeah, that is basically most of the, well, it is basically all the Silver Age. Everything covered between these 3 omnibuses. And we got one more bonus book that we can add to this reading order. And we're going to go over it right now. And here we go. Here's the bonus book I wanted to bring up here. This is a original story told by Mark Waid. But what's cool about this story is that this actually goes through the history of Barry and Hal's friendship, Green Lantern and Flash's team-ups. And what's cool about these stories specifically, what Mark Waid did, is that he carefully put it out, and you actually have like a timeline in here where it actually takes place in between the issues of the Flash and Green Lantern, like actual issues, that sometimes get referenced in this story. So it's almost like an anthology story where every issue is like its own story, but it goes throughout certain things. It has reoccurring themes. Like one of the reoccurring jokes in it is that Hal is constantly broken, always has Barry like pay for stuff. Barry's obviously more responsible, one of the two. But yeah, there's a lot of like fun stories in here, and definitely something that I would add to this Silver Age reading order, since a lot of it does take place in the Silver Age, and also takes place in the Bronze Age. I would be careful though, because if you read this in the middle of Silver Age, there is a big spoiler that happens in the Bronze Age, so just be wary of that. But one of the things that's actually cool about that I love is there's actually there is a story here that kind of gives Barry's reaction to all the stuff that Hal goes through during the road trip with Green Lantern, and it's almost like Barry and Ollie are basically fighting over for Hal, which is like hysterical to me. And like Barry thinks like Hal's like a bad influence on him. But yeah, this is a great fun story. If you're a fan of these characters, both these characters, which I definitely am, I love Green Lantern as well. Brian can't talk today. But yeah, here you go. That's the issue. Fascist tool, hippie freak. But yeah, let me see. This is one of my favorite moments in the book. Such good fun stuff. And then, of course, it does resolve with Barry and Hal more or less getting back together, because Ollie's like, you two could be together while I'll be with Black Canary. But yeah, a lot of fun stuff here. I'm going to stop here because, like I said, I don't want to reveal that spoiler. But I will show real quick, like, where is it here? I believe it's in the back here somewhere, where they show the actual timeline of when some of these books will take place. I think it's in the front. Like, Marv Wade basically carefully laid it out. Nah, it's gotta be in the back. Hold on. Forgive me. You saw nothing. But yeah, there you go. That's the original proposal, his pitch. Original strips. Layouts. And, of course, the biographies. But yeah, there you go. That is that series as well. And this will conclude the first episode of the Flash reading order, covering all of the Silver Age. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. And, of course, like and subscribe to the Omnibus Cafe. And join the Facebook group as well. Like and subscribe. Talk to you guys later. See ya.